And now, after further review, a Clemson student's perspective on sports.
It's AFR time, baby. Let's get up. Let's get rolling.
That's right.
Personal foul, 69, offense. He was giving them the business. We played it down.
Okay, so if Trevor Lawrence isn't either the second or third string quarterback in the fall, I shave my head and you get a tattoo?
Well, you got to get a head tattoo. You got to shave your
get a head tattoo. Now we're talking.
And get a head tattoo.
And a personal foul on number 99 of the defense. After he tackled the quarterback, he's giving them business down there. That's a 15-yard penalty.
And now your host, Jay, Bradley, and Evan.
What is up, everyone? AFR now on your radio. Jay Smith, Bradley Kendall, Evan McDowell. Thanks so much for spending your Monday evening with us. Always got a ton to talk about, Bradley. It is hard to believe. We posted about it on social media this afternoon. This is the 70th all-time episode of After Further Review. September of 2016 we started this show. It's a big number.
And it's up, and yeah, it's amazing we've come all this way. We're on our road to 100. We can't wait for that. But after further review, to start it off, this past week, and we heard about this earlier on the radio, this was the most turnover in AP poll history that we've ever experienced. 14 teams either left or entered the AP poll this week. Can you believe that?
Yeah, no, you were showing me some of the numbers before we went on air, and it was hard to believe. We got a lot of ACC schools. I know Syracuse cracked the top 25 for the first time since 2001.
Boston
I believe.
College
BC's
making an appearance now
in there. So
and Virginia. How about Bronco Mendenhall? The job he's done in Charlottesville, going to be possibly a top 25 matchup in the ACC championship game.
Hard to believe.
If they can run the table the rest of the way, they are given the best chance right now to make that ACC championship. Hard to believe. It's not basketball either.
No.
So yeah, like I said, 14 schools going in and out, and some of them happen to be some of the schools that we picked to make the college football playoff this year, which obviously just makes you scratch your head how we can be that wrong.
We talked about it, I think, 16 of the last 17 years, a team starting in the top 10 at the beginning of the season has finished the season unranked, and we've had 4 top 10 teams.
4 teams
drop
right
out of the
now.
rankings.
Yeah, we had, let's see, Wisconsin was one of them,
Auburn.
Washington, Auburn, and Miami.
Yeah.
I saw Miami coming. I didn't think they were going to be that good this year. 8 was really
Washington
high.
is the surprise for
Washington's
me.
the big surprise.
The surprise.
And I think Wisconsin's the big surprise, too, because you figured, that half of the Big Ten schedule they're playing would be fairly simple.
Yeah,
but
I felt like Washington had the inside track for a college football playoff berth, but oh, how wrong I was.
And would you have ever thought Jake Browning would be benched at some point this year? I mean, geez, 2 years ago, Heisman front runner, and then after that, just completely fell apart. So, lots of teams moving up and down. We're going to see a lot of movement up and down coming up later this week. Got some great matchups ahead of us. Stay on your couch and watch football this Saturday because you're going to want to. But, I guess we'll get to some of the games from this past weekend, Jay.
Yeah, first one that I wanted to highlight was a bit of a shootout. You had NC State dropping to Syracuse. Final score, this one's 51-41. Ryan Finley didn't do too many things wrong. I mean, guy went 26 for 44, 3 touchdowns. He did throw a pick, but, he was averaging 11 yards a completion. Then you look over at Syracuse. Eric Dungey, obviously a quarterback that Clemson's got familiarity with. He was 27 for 38, 411 yards, 3 touchdowns. So 2 really impressive quarterback performances, possibly the quarterback duel of the year in the ACC.
I would agree with you wholeheartedly on that. I've loved Dungey the entire year, putting up 51 points. Syracuse is quietly becoming one of the best offensive teams in America right now. It's great to see them crack the top 25, well-deserving. Only 2 losses on the year. You've got that Clemson game and then a really close game earlier this year that they lost by, I believe, by like 3 points. So a team that's very, very well could be undefeated right now. Yeah,
both of these squads racked up 540-plus total yards. Honestly, it's these kinds of games where you don't want to see a team lose, but at the end of the day, obviously somebody's got to emerge victorious. And for Syracuse, the fact that they put up 24 points in the first quarter, only a field goal in the second, but then strung together some nice drives towards the end of the game. They've maintained their consistency, and like you said, they're a couple close games away from being undefeated, but we're finally seeing the AP poll voters, whether or not The AP poll actually matters is a whole nother, discussion. But we're finally seeing them give credit to Syracuse.
And I don't think Syracuse is going to be going away anytime soon. Wake Forest and Louisville in the next 2 weeks. 2 very winnable games for the Orange.
Yep.
And then after that, at home against Notre Dame. So big-time games coming up for the Orange.
Realistically, though, you look at the rest of their schedule, and obviously the Wake and Louisville game you pointed out, those should be 2 easy wins. If I'm Syracuse and I finish the season 8-4, even 9-3 if they win on the road at BC to close out the season, that's a great year.
Because remember, this team making a bowl game for them was huge. That was what kept Gino Babers his job and what got him an extension. That was kind of the bare minimum, the expectations for Syracuse now. Now, 8 wins, 9 wins, even in the Atlantic, isn't completely out of the picture, which is amazing to hear.
Yeah, I like I said, honestly, things are high right now if you're Syracuse. Quarterback play obviously is something that, is keeping them afloat. I think their defense obviously has questions, but at the same time, it's good to see that they finally cracked.
You could say the same for State. State coming into the season, they've been known for having a pretty filthy defense the last couple of years. Lots of turnover. I think the inexperience that their defense went through this season is really coming back to get them a little bit. Letting up 51 after letting up, what was it? How many points they let up to Clemson? I believe we're still scoring.
47.
47.
Yeah, 47.
So, yeah, we got to get some questions answered over there at the in Raleigh on defense.
Rest of their schedule though is pretty winnable. FSU, I think they can handle.
That's a win.
I think they can handle Florida State, Wake Forest, Louisville on the road. If they take care of those 3 games, all of a sudden they're sitting at 8-2, and they have at UNC and ECU. Wolfpack could be a 10-win team.
Which is really hard to believe. Probably not a deserving 10-win team. If you were to predict them winning 10 games earlier this season, I'd say they could possibly win the Atlantic. They're not nearly as good as Clemson or some of the other teams that would vie for that. But yeah, Syracuse and NC State, 10 and 9 win teams. Yeah. That's great for the depth of the ACC. That's huge.
Well, there's a lot that we could
great
discuss.
Building blocks.
It's building blocks.
State's never won 10 games.
Yeah.
Under Dave Dorian, they have not won 10 games. I believe it's been since like early 2000.
Yeah.
And obviously Syracuse has been nowhere close to that in a while. So that's great to see for them.
What about out in the west side of the country? You had number 14 Washington State beat Stanford 41-38, and we kind of talked about this. Washington State now 7-1. They're 4-1 in conference play, with Oregon just getting shellacked by Arizona.
How about an unexpected game there?
I tell you what, I got to get to some points about Oregon later in the show, but sticking with Washington State, kind of the last hurrah or last chance for the Pac-12 to even have a playoff shot. You agree?
Absolutely. You got suddenly the Washington game at the end of the year. We thought, that's going to be the game. Washington State, gets that second loss, gets knocked out of the playoff. That's a very winnable game at this point for Washington State. They're a top 10 team. They could run the table the rest of the way.
Seriously, Cal at Colorado, who's been disappointing the last few weeks. Arizona, although they did get a nice surprise upset against Oregon. But then you mentioned the Washington game, and the only loss so far for the Cougars on their schedule is that 3-point game on the road at USC.
On a Friday night.
Yeah.
So, outside of that, there's nothing we can say bad about Washington State right now. And if they make that Pac-12 championship game, they're probably going to face a Utah team they already beat. So 11 wins, that's very possible for Mike Leach at this point.
And do you think that if Washington State gets to 11-1 regular season, wins a Pac-12 championship, are they going to be exclude UCF for a second, because we could spend a whole hour talking about UCF scenarios. What about Notre Dame?
Thank God somebody else around here wants to exclude UCF from something for a little while.
I'm just taking a break this week. It'll come back soon. Don't worry.
I'm serious, though. If Notre Dame is undefeated and Washington State's a Power 5 champion with 1 loss.
Notre Dame runs the table they're in. That's not even a debate. Notre Dame's going to get in undefeated.
So that 4th spot would go to the Cougars?
If that 0 is next to Notre Dame on that second number in the loss column, Notre Dame's going to get in the playoff. That's a done deal. Now, Washington State, you got to look at their schedule right now. That USC loss is looking worse and worse. The Oregon and Stanford wins are not looking good at all because, we saw Oregon get shellacked this weekend. Stanford got beat bad in the last couple weeks. So that strength of schedule is not going to be favoring the Cougars by any chance.
No, but I still think that it does warrant the fact that they've played outstanding this year. Mike Leach has got a great squad, and they could be looking at double-digit wins in the regular season.
Oh, he'll be one of the coaches of the year. After Luke Falk left this season, I was giving Washington State 5 wins at most this year, but Gardner Minshew is leading the country in passing yards. Have not skipped a beat.
All right, well, we want to get to one more Pac-12 game real quick before we get to the phone lines. Arizona, 44, Oregon, 15. Ducks.
Not much to say there. Khalil Tate finally became Khalil Tate again. We finally saw the resurrection of his season. And Justin Herbert, I mean, gosh, you might be the number one pick, dude, but you're not putting up 15 points on Arizona? Come on. I mean, this is what we thought Arizona might be earlier this season, but we haven't seen any of that this season at all.
I mean, he went 24 for 48.
Yeah.
50% completion. I mean, he did throw for almost 200 yards, had 2 touchdowns, but yeah, Oregon just...
After talking about Oregon potentially running the table the rest of the season and being playoff strong...
Every time we pick a team in the Pac-12, they just
by
get
so
dismantled.
Much. Yeah.
So, I mean, they got Utah in a couple weeks on the road. That's a tough game. All of a sudden, UCLA, Arizona State, you just never know. I mean, they could lose a couple more and drop to 8-4, 7-5.
Yeah. Suddenly that coaching mistake that Mario Cristobal made in the Stanford game is not the most of their worries this season. They got a lot more to worry about.
Quickly though, do you think that this is a big win for Kevin Sumlin? Is this a marquee win of the season for him? Because we talked about Arizona at the beginning of the season, and then they completely dropped off the radar. So is this a game that proves that Kevin Sumlin can last at Arizona?
No, I don't think he's going to last extremely long. I never thought he was that good of a coach to begin with, but this at least keeps him afloat. It's something you can at least look back on and say, he beat a top 20 team after such high expectations this year. At least he got one ranked win in the Pac-12 there. So for him, keeps him around. But
if they can play tough against Washington State here in a couple weeks, it would be with it being a road game. I think that would go a long way to impress me. But obviously, a lot left to figure out about both those squads. We want to get to the phone lines real quick. We've got Ed on with us now. How you doing this evening, Ed?
Oh, I'm good. The only thing I hate is your show's only an hour.
Same here, man. Same here.
Same.
National radio is terrible, and it's good to have new voices on there. And what little I've heard of you guys and Walt's promotion of you, y'all are doing a great job. If it was longer, I could have called you at 59-10. But since, y'all aren't on that late, clearly that couldn't happen. And you're not on at 41-7 or 63-3 because those are too early. The reason I was calling is, after this weekend, and look, I know Florida State's down. They're not good. But I don't see anything stopping this squad from going to the playoff. Gun to the head right now versus Alabama with Tua against our defense, with our offense against their defense. What do you think?
Honestly, 2 weeks ago, I would have said we don't even come within 14 points of Alabama. I think with the development of Trevor Lawrence and how comfortable he's gotten and how we've been able to balance both running and passing the ball right now, I think Clemson's got a very legitimate chance, especially the passing game. Because I think that's the way you beat Alabama's. You attack their secondary, you work the outside of the field. That's how you get past Alabama's defense this year. And it's a lot younger. There's a lot more injuries than have been in years past for Alabama's defense. So I think that's one thing Clemson could really capitalize on if they were to play the Tide later in the year.
Look, the bye week came at the perfect time for Clemson. I mean, obviously, myself, I wasn't high on the Tigers. Had them a little bit lower than some people in the last few weeks of the rankings, but they have more than impressed me with the performances against NC State and then on the road against FSU. Truthfully, I thought Florida State was going to be a tough game, with it being a rivalry game, and the fact that it's usually a close game between the two squads. I think to Bradley's point, beating Alabama with the passing game, yes. However, you need to be multidimensional. The fact that we didn't have a great rushing performance against NC State, not really a great rushing performance against Florida State. I think we only racked up 120 total yards. So I'd like to see us do more on the ground because we have the talent, some of the best running backs in the country. But at the same time, Trevor Lawrence needs time to develop. He needs playing time. I think the fact that Clemson can go out there and play 88 guys against NC State when Alabama's only playing 40-something is huge. The fact that we can still go out there, start all three, starting everybody on the depth chart and still crush opponents is a great testament to the depth that Dabo has built up.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And look, it's like this. With this squad now, especially with the development of ATN, it looks to me like with us, you're going to have to pick your poison. If you're going to put guys in the box, you're going to get burned. And look, if you want to load the box, if you keep feeding ATN, it could go bad for you anyway, but we're not going to do that. And this defense, they look like they've sort of just been hanging around, so to speak, for a little bit. But, you know, when you give up, 20 points in the last 3 games in conference, 2 on the road, that's ugly, gentlemen. There's no other way to put it. I mean, we've outscored our opponents 163-20 over the last 3 weeks. And, you know, you can say this or that about competition, but in the end, you can only play who's in front of you. And I would like to give a shout-out to Kevin Sumlin. He used some Visine, told that young quarterback out there to go out there and do what he does. He just shouldn't have saved him until the midpoint of the season. I think he should have done something earlier than that. Y'all have a good show.
All right, hey, thanks for taking the time to call in, Ed. We really appreciate it.
Could not agree more, though. I mean, he was trying to make Khalil Tate a throwing quarterback. He was like what they were doing with Lamar Jackson, the rumors that they were going to start making him a pro-style quarterback. And
it takes a while.
Bobby Petrino was eventually like, you know what, this guy's a special talent. He can run the ball. We're going to let him free.
But it does take a while for a new coach who didn't necessarily recruit those players. I mean, not only are the players fitting the coach's system, the coach has got to fit the players. So there's a two-way street.
You could say he's a new coach, though, but someone's been around the block for a while.
Oh, he has. I'm not saying that's an excuse for him. I'm just saying that it's hard when you've got a team that you didn't recruit.
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, he didn't recruit that team.
Yeah, and I think it doesn't help the fact that Khalil Tate was getting so much hype in the offseason, and there was so much, buzz about this team coming into this season. He could be like the Johnny Manziel that Khalil Tate had back in his days at A&M. Yeah. So that certainly didn't help, I think, someone going forward when he proceeded to lose like the first 3 games of the season.
Evan, I got a question for you, because one of the points Ed made was the fact that the last 3 weeks, how, dominant we've been against our in-conference opponents. Do you think that what Ed was saying, where you can only play who's in front of you, matters more than the fact that you're playing teams like Wake Forest, Florida State? I mean, NC State was supposed to be a good game, but I guess what I'm trying to get at is, does Clemson dominating these opponents, does it really do anything for their resume?
Well, I think obviously it has to, because at a certain point you can control who you play, right? And that's scheduling, 5 years out or whatever.
Right.
But as far as playing Syracuse and Wake Forest and NC State, you don't really have much control over that, because you got to play them every year anyway. So it's not your fault that they stink this year. They're just having a down year, whereas we've talked about before how we can remember 10 years ago when beating Wake Forest was kind of a big deal, and now we beat them by 60 without even really trying. So at a certain point, it helps that you can control who you play, but for the most part, when you get into the meat and potatoes of your conference schedule, it's not going to make much difference who you play, just like Alabama can't control how bad some of the rest of the SEC is right now.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up. I mean, people keep giving Bama credit for absolutely annihilating, opponents, despite the fact that a lot of them are below 4-4, 5-3.
Yeah, but
they're just looking great.
I think, truthfully, and I hear what both of you are saying, and I completely get it. However, I think when you're a team like Clemson and you're playing in a conference that has looked really bad this year, we've, Coastal, Atlantic, both divisions besides Clemson have been really, really bad. I think when you play in that kind of league, it looks good when you're, dominating your opponents because everyone's expecting you to. However, your margin of error is greatly reduced, meaning if you lose a game, everyone goes, well, geez, Clemson, what are you're playing in the ACC. How could you lose a game? And then once you've lost that game, all of a sudden, you're on the outside looking in.
I don't know about that, though. I mean, I think each team has struggled one particular week this year. And if Clemson was to slip up and still win the ACC, I think they're still guaranteed probably a spot in the college football playoff right now. I would put them in. Yeah. So, you could say the margin for error is, a little bit higher than it would be, compared to other seasons. But, I'd say if Clemson loses, they're in.
Well, we got a couple more games we want to break down after this break. And then, obviously, Clemson's performance is going to be coming up. So stick with us. That's coming up next.
Granger Nissan knows with football season comes tailgating, so make sure you have a reliable way to the big game. As a leader in the market with competitive inventory, you know that you'll be ready to tailgate this season. Granger Nissan is a family business, so they know the importance of taking care of the loved ones while on the road. You can drive your next tailgate vehicle with confidence and ease, knowing all new vehicles have a lifetime powertrain warranty. So stop by Granger Nissan of Anderson at 3510 Clemson Boulevard.
Excel Truck Driver Training has your ticket to a better future. Excel offers certified Class A and Class B CDL courses taught by experienced instructors. Your first step to a fun and rewarding career. Flexible scheduling that includes days, nights, or weekends. Class A training is 160 hours. Class B training is 70 hours. Convenient location off I-85, exit 39 in Piedmont. Call today for more information. Don't sell yourself short. Excel. Excel Truck Driver Training, 864-844-1961.
Pack your bags. Frontier Airlines has arrived at GSP International Airport with nonstop flights and low fares to Denver, Las Vegas, Orlando, and Tampa. It's never been easier or more affordable to reach your favorite destinations nonstop. That's right, nonstop flights on Frontier Airlines. So, don't wait to climb that mountain, roll those dice, ride a roller coaster, or reach the beach. Book your trip from GSP at flyfrontier.com. Frontier Airlines. Low fares done right.
I'm Kristen Bennett. The professionals at Bennett Equipment rent and sell Takeuchi compact equipment at 3 upstate locations, Greenville, Spartanburg, and now in Seneca. Takeuchi sets the industry standard for performance and reliability. Bennett also rents, sells, and services many other types of construction equipment with the service you expect and deserve. Call today, 864-277-7272, or visit us at BennettEquipment.net. And remember, if you need to rent it from Bennett.
M&L Mobile Home Supplies is the largest retail mobile home parts store in the upstate. They're your source for heat pumps, heating, and air replacement parts, doors, tubs, showers, vinyl windows, skirting, decks, water heaters, everything you need. And they'll install vapor barriers, insulated floors, ductwork, and heat pumps. For 32 years, the staff at M&L Mobile Home Supplies has served the upstate's mobile home needs. M&L Mobile Home Supplies, 1128 Bypass in Anderson, or online at mnlsupply.com.
Right now at Blanchard Machinery, get 0% for 60 months on new Cat equipment. Because we know growing your business isn't just one thing, it's a million little things. And we're ready to help. With expert advice, flexible financing, and industry-leading equipment, you can get the job done, day after day. Get 0% for 60 months on new Cat equipment. Call 844-BLANCHARD or visit blanchardmachinery.com/TV. Terms and conditions apply.
Cars cost less than Travelers Rest at George Coleman Ford. The award-winning George Coleman Ford team is offering a 2018 Focus SE 4-door, just $15,999. And remember, George Coleman Ford never charges any document fees. See the 2018 Focus SE today. Cars do cost less than Travelers Rest. 4 generations doing business right. George Coleman Ford.
Includes $4,000 in rebates, plus sales tax and tags.
You have cracks in your driveway, sidewalk, or settling pool decks? Why tear it out when you can lift it? Canty Foundation Specialists can raise concrete slabs back to its original position using our patented polylevel process. Call Canty today at 864-475-1671. Don't replace it, raise it. 475-1671, or visit us at cantyfoundationsc.com.
Actually texted in with a little trivia question for us. I know we're big into that as of late, but Evan, I'm curious. Out of the 3 running backs I'm about to list, who do you think has the most rushing yards this season? Answer might surprise.
Most rushing yards this season of the 3 running backs you're going to give me here in a minute.
Bryce Love.
Okay.
Cam Akers.
Okay.
Deion Jackson from Duke.
I love how you had to throw in the team names.
I was about to say, you had to quantify who Deion Jackson was, which must mean he's the wild card in this question. I know it's not Cam Akers, and Bryce Love's had a down year from last year, so I'll go with your Dookie running back there.
534 rushing yards for Deion Jackson, 419 for Bryce Love. What is happening at Stanford?
I don't know, but I got the trivia question right, so I don't care.
Does that make 5 weeks in a row?
Something like that. I'm keeping some form of a streak alive.
Was your upset pick right this week?
So it wasn't a formal upset pick because we didn't make it on the air. Texas Tech should have won that game. Iowa State did end up winning the game. So if it had been on air or on paper, I think I technically would have gotten it wrong. But because it wasn't, there's nobody that can hold me accountable except for me, and I'm not holding me accountable, which means my streak is still intact.
I don't know about that.
We'll get the team. After further review, we'll still have to look into it. But during the break, got another phone call in. Bradley, this was Randy. He wanted to talk a little Clemson defense. How you doing this evening, Randy?
Hey, good evening. Yeah, I was just, we have watch parties for Clemson games, and it's amazing. We talk about just how good the Clemson defense is not reflected in their stats because they're playing so many second and third team players all the time, and particularly at the end of the game, they give up, cheap touchdowns and give up cheap yards. I mean, I'm not saying they should do anything differently because they're resting their players, but I've watched 2 Michigan games, and they don't hardly take any of their starters out. They'll rotate one out at a time, but you never see all 4 out. And so Clemson's defense is so good, they don't quite get the recognition because the stats aren't quite there because of those cheap yards and scores at the end of games.
I mean, that's a fair point. I still think that, consensus among most people that watch the game, the first half of the game anyway, they all realize and recognize that Clemson's defense, whether it's defensive line or just the defense as an entire unit, is definitely one of the best in college football, possibly Clemson history. I think, honestly, and I understand what you're saying about the fact that they're giving up cheap yards and touchdowns at the end of the games, but I still am on the side of the fact that you can play. I don't know how many guys we started against Florida State. I just know for NC State, we got 88 starters out there. The fact that you can play that many people at all those different positions and still maintain a pretty significant level of dominance is just incredible to me. I mean, it speaks to the fact that we're not just first string team. We have depth at almost every position.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not disagreeing at all. I'm saying we get recognition, but I mean, the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've kind of get tired of hearing about, well, Michigan does have the best defense this year, blah, blah, blah. And so I purposely watched a couple of the games to see what they're doing. And that's what they're doing. They're just padding their stats. But, they'll pay for it at the end of the year because, or they'll have an injury. But, I mean, we're doing it the exact right way. It just irks me when you hear a national commentator talk about, well, Clemson's up there, but Michigan's probably the best defense this year. But it's okay. But I was thinking about it when listening to y'all talk earlier. I'm enjoying the show. Good job.
Hey, well, appreciate you taking the time to call in and talk to us, Randy. Really, really appreciate it.
Randy, you got a point, man. I mean, ESPN's been milking Michigan the whole year. As long as they keep winning, they're going to keep bringing up that stat. Yeah, Michigan right now currently number 1 in total defense. Clemson's at 3, not far behind. So you got a point.
Oh yeah, I was saying if we did what Michigan did, the numbers would be reversed.
I'd agree.
I would agree.
But I think towards the end of the year, the freshest defense is going to be the strongest at the back end of the schedule.
If you can rotate guys in a college football playoff game and know that you're going to get the same level of performance from those second or third string guys, truthfully, I don't care what the stat sheet says. I just need the team to go out and perform.
As long as you win.
I've never been a big stats guy. I mean, listen, obviously Michigan's maybe getting recognition that is deserved for Clemson, but at the same time, at the end of the day, whatever's going to get you the furthest in the college football playoff is really what matters.
Yeah, I worry more about Wilkins running on the field from the sideline when somebody else scores. Congratulate a teammate.
He's usually one of the first guys out there on the field, chest bumping. You can't miss Wilkins. I mean, he's so big. But yeah, you're definitely right about that.
I'd be more worried about seeing him out playing basketball at Fike Recreation Center, if anything else, because I've seen him there a couple times.
Well, I think they can put in a quarterback package for him this week with Louisville, and have him where he can throw the ball. He throw the ball by standing back there and pitching it forward to a jet sweep coming forward. If he's pitching it forward, that's a pass, a forward pass. So I think that's what he's wanting to hit all the numbers, punt it,
I'm
kick it,
sure.
and
He's the perfect flex guy for fantasy.
He's elbowing Dabo. He's like, come on, coach. Come on. You want to do it. We're at 59-10. Come on, coach.
Yep, I'm looking forward to it. I'll record the game, even if I don't get to see every minute of it, just to go back and look and see when they put it in. Because I heard he was even politicking Kathleen to get Dabo to put him in a package.
Yeah, hey, I mean, Bama ran it last year in the Sugar Bowl with, I think it was Deron Payne, ran a little out route for him. So, hey, it could happen.
It definitely could happen. But, hey, thanks for calling in, Randy.
Sure, thank you. Enjoy the show,
yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, was Christian Wilkins the guy that caught the fake punt in the Orange Bowl?
It was Teasdale, wasn't it?
2015, right? Yeah, from Teasdale.
Threw it to Wilkins, and they connected. I want to say that was
on a fake punt. It was.
What was it?
It was against Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, yeah.
It was a fourth down. Like the game was still close.
It was like first quarter.
It was the beginning. It was like first
half of the game. And hey, with those gloves the guys are using now, anybody can catch anything at this point.
I know.
So
yeah.
You never know. But
I mean, we got a couple more minutes here in this second segment. Anything stand out to you from Clemson's performance against Florida State? I mean, all around, there's really nothing that you can nitpick besides the fact that the rushing game, could be a little bit more developed. I know we did get, I think, 120 yards on the ground.
I don't really care how the rushing game goes. If we're putting up 59 points, we're finding a way to score. But that's all that matters.
Etienne had 45 yards this game. He had, 39 yards against NC State? I think Evan may have to fact check that for me, so I'm not wrong. But he's had good performances throughout the year, so we know he's capable, Bradley. It's just these last couple weeks, it's been more the Trevor Lawrence show, which isn't a bad thing.
No, that's not a bad thing at all. I mean, get the guy comfortable, get him reps, get him developed. And Travis Etienne, the less we play him, the fresher he is down the road. So I don't think it's a bad thing at all. Back to that D-line point, though, about mixing a lot of guys in, showing that the depth we've got can play. If you remember back in that Oklahoma game in 2015, Shaq Lawson got hurt. And a guy by the name of Austin Bryant stepped up and filled in for that role. So guys like Albert Huggins on the D-line right now, if they're filling in, like Xavier Thomas, those guys get some work in, at this point of the season, they might play a pivotal role down the road.
And we did get a text in confirming that all 72 players that traveled to the game on Saturday did get to start. So appreciate you confirming that.
Third time this year, actually. That's happened.
Which is great to see. One of the funniest things I saw in the box score after this game, because of that errant snap by Florida State, they ended up with negative 21 rushing yards, which just...
And I believe Christian Wilkins had more, because he had one rushing yard, so he technically had more rushing yards than the entire Florida State team.
Yep.
Going back to that Cam Akers question with Florida State, I mean, they've got two great running backs, but the O-line's just terrible. They can't use them.
Well, listen, I understand the O-line's terrible, but they had 4 fumbles. FSU fumbled the ball 4 times. They only lost one of them, but ball security is fundamental, all right? That's something that and it wasn't... I don't think with the Florida State performance, it wasn't as much Clemson pouring it on Florida State as it was Florida. Just nothing went their way.
Florida State did everything they could to lose that game, and Clemson did everything they could to win that game.
It really didn't feel like Clemson was,
No, that's the thing. Like,
to score.
I don't even think we played a complete game. Clemson still could have easily put up 70 if we would have played a full 90 minutes.
The first quarter, we were sleepwalking.
60 minutes, I should say.
I mean, it truthfully, like first quarter, it was like, Clemson, what are you doing? And then all of a sudden, in the second quarter, I think we had 4 consecutive touchdown drives.
Yeah.
And the game was over.
And we talked about Jake Browning, the struggles he had the last 2 years. How about DeAndre Francois? Where has he gone? I mean, just completely
You just
fell
said his
apart.
O-line was bad.
I know, but like, you saw half those throws he was making. I know we say he looks like...
Now, look, Florida State receivers, they didn't do him any
course
favors.
not.
They dropped a ton of balls.
I know we say he looks like Cam Newton. Some of those throws looked like Cam Newton back in the day.
A little bit, but I still, like, being at the game and watching it from a pretty good vantage point, I was just so many drops.
Crazy stat I saw, though, was the Trevor Lawrence ball velocity stat. He's throwing I think they had him on record throwing the ball 61 miles an hour, which was 5 mile an hour faster than Jared Goff and Patrick Mahomes and Carson Wentz at the combine.
You and your
that
bubble
is
screens.
Incredible.
You and your bubble screens.
I'm just saying, man, get the ball quick. It works. We average like 8 yards in the bubble
When
screens
you've got
this
guys
week.
like Justin Ross and T. Higgins, you've got Hunter Renfrow, you've got a good chance for it to work.
Do want to give a quick shout out before we go to break from our trivia question. We'll get to those blind resumes in just a bit, but shout out to Alex Kelly, Matthew Cope, and Ross Jasper for answering that correctly.
And what was today's trivia question?
Well, the trivia question had something to do with the blind resumes. You know how I've started to do those the last few weeks.
fan.
Oh, they're great. And each week, it's kind of a head scratcher. You're just amazed at some of the numbers that some of these teams are putting up. Team A, here's the first team I had. It was 7-1 this year. They've beat 2 top 25 teams. They are a top 10 defense, and their strength of schedule is in the top 10 right now. Team B, also 7-1, has not beat a team in the top 25 right now. Their strength of schedule is 9, and they are also a top 10 defense.
And the correct answers were Team A was Kentucky. Team B was Michigan.
Yeah, very surprising. A lot of people guessed LSU. Eventually, I'll do LSU because just someone's got to get it right.
Somebody's got to
eventually.
get LSU.
Yeah, but
those questions
the Kentucky Wildcats
always posted to Instagram stories.
Yeah.
So
keep on the lookout for that.
We try and keep the social media active. I guess we could start posting it on Twitter, but
We'll get there.
We'll get there. But yeah, no, it's definitely fun and exciting to see some engagement. But we got Roger from Taylor's on air with us now. We got a couple minutes left. We want to talk to Roger. What's up, Roger?
Hey, how are y'all doing?
Good, man. What's going on?
Well, I can't let Ed show me up. I heard him calling. I was hopping in the shower and heard Ed calling. I was like, oh, Lord.
Well, you got a couple minutes.
The show has turned downhill. Listen, I heard on WCCP maybe a week ago where Alabama in these blowouts are playing like 40 players a game. And then we keep
I
hearing,
believe that's accurate.
Yeah, in Clemson. Well, I Googled it, and I can't find, and maybe one of your listeners could give us a link to where we can find what they're playing. And we all know that Alabama's good, and they have a good offense. But what's going to happen if they're not playing with that few of players, and they run into a shootout game? You remember back when LSU said we were cramping. Clemson was just moving the ball. They were cramping. What's going to happen when they get to the playoffs with a team that can move the ball, when they finally hit an offense and keep them on the field and up-tempo it? And that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. But I would love to find a site where you could break down the depth charts of who played.
You know what, Roger? After we talked about it, I Googled around myself just to see if I could find it. And in the last couple minutes, I did find this article on sbnation.com, and it is from about a week ago, maybe a little bit longer than that. And it was written after the NC State game. And of the 95 total players on Clemson's roster, 84 of them played against NC State, and only 85 players are allowed to be on scholarship. So that means basically every scholarship player on Clemson's roster played against NC State. And I know that was a reoccurring theme against Florida State this past weekend. And then just below that, the article says that on that same day, Alabama played 44 players against Tennessee. Oklahoma played 49 over TCU, and both of those teams had just like blowout wins. So they were playing half as many people as Clemson was and winning by about the same margin of victory.
Yeah, well, the way Bama's got the train going and just rolling over everybody, that may be a little food for thought when they hit the playoffs.
I'd agree with you. Yeah, I've been saying all along, I think a team that can move the ball offensively like a Washington State or an Oklahoma or even a Clemson has a great chance to stay in a game with Alabama because Bama's secondary and their entire defense as a whole is either inexperienced, or they're hurt. Mm-hmm. That's not something you've seen a lot from a Nick Saban defense, and it hasn't really been taken advantage of because we haven't seen a team like an LSU that can really stay with them for 4 quarters. But yeah, when you get in a shootout like that, I'm going to favor the other team. I honestly will.
The focus right now, or the focus that's been on Alabama all season, has been on the offensive side of the ball on Tagovailoa. And so, that's why I guess the defense hasn't gotten as much attention. But yeah, Bradley, to your point, I don't think that's an unfair assessment. But Roger, we got to cut to a break, but we really appreciate you taking the time, call in, talk with us. All right, well, we got through a little bit of talk. We went through the blind resumes, highlighted those, talked a little bit Clemson, Florida State. Last segment, we're going to touch on college football playoff rankings, which come out tomorrow night at, was it 7 p.m.?
7 o'clock,
7 o'clock. Look at some betting lines for this coming weekend, and then each of us
our top 6.
We'll go into the top 6, the fun segment, the segment that you've got to listen to every week. That's next. Stay tuned.
Carolina Alliance has a team of experienced, devoted bankers to help you with any financial hurdle you come across, offering competitive low rates and personal one-on-one services for your business or personal banking needs. Here's the best part. These are people you know from the community. Stop in for a visit. David Barnett, Dustin Green, and Leslie Menace in Greenville, Jeff Turner and Adria Earwood in Easley, Jack Bice, Robert Halfacre, and Lois Filial in Anderson. Visit them online at CarolinaAllianceBank.com. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Hey home buyers, you're about to make the biggest purchase of your life. It's a stressful, high-pressure situation. You need a lawyer you trust to make sure your deal closes without a hitch. Holiday Law Firm is your go-to closing attorney in the upstate. Hayes Holiday and Trey Ingram have helped hundreds of homeowners close on their dream home, and they want to be your closing attorney. Call Hayes and Trey today to help you with your purchase. You'll be glad you did. Visit holidaylawfirm.com for more information.
Be the hottest tiger at your tailgate party when you go by Urban Nirvana. The best stylists, the best products make you look your best with ease. And guys, with all your honey bunny does, kids, school, work, why not surprise her with an Urban Nirvana gift certificate? It's so simple. Log on to urbannirvana.com, make your purchase, and print your gift certificate from your computer. So easy and so worth it. Look and feel like a tiger with Urban Nirvana at McBee Station and the shops at Green Ridge. Online at urbannirvana.com.
Are you ready to go all in on a car? Granger Nissan knows what car will fit you and your family because they are a leader in the market with competitive inventory. They have everything for everyone. Granger Nissan is a family business, so they know the importance of taking care of the ones we love on the road. You can drive with confidence and ease because Granger Nissan has all new vehicles with a lifetime powertrain warranty. Granger Nissan is not just in the car business, they're in the people business. Stop by Granger Nissan of Anderson on 3510 Clemson Boulevard.
Does your home have wall cracks, uneven floors, or doors and windows that are sticking? These are all signs that a foundation problem is stealing value from your home. Call Canty Foundation Specialist at 475-1671. We know your home is your #1 investment, and we can help protect it. Don't wait for a foundation problem to get worse. If you have sagging floors or cracks in your sheetrock, call Canty Foundation Specialist, 475-1671, or visit us at cantyfoundationsc.com.
Hey, Tiger fans, this is Taj Boyd with an update on Lakeside Lodge Clemson, Clemson's first condo hotel. Now under construction, Lakeside Lodge offers 1, 2, and 3-bedroom condos starting from the mid-200s. You can use it whenever you want and rent it when you're away. It's that easy. With top-notch amenities like housekeeping, food and beverage services, and lake access, Lakeside Lodge will provide the ultimate Clemson experience. Hurry, because these condos are selling fast. Come see me at our sales office at 906 Tiger Boulevard next to Ruby Tuesday.
Men, are you tired of those daily blue enhancement pills that take days, weeks, or months to work, if they ever work at all? Listen up. Now you can take Red, the new natural male empowerment pill that works on demand. Even your partner will notice the difference the very first time you use it. To prove Red won't disappoint like the others, you're invited to participate in our nationwide I Take Red Partner Reaction Guarantee Trial. We're seeking participants for this nationwide trial, not only to prove it works the very first time you try it. We guarantee your partner will also notice the difference. Forget those slow-acting blue pills and join those who proudly take Red. Over 50,000 pills have already been claimed and supplies are limited. So to ensure your participation in this free nationwide trial, you must call now.
Superior virility on demand. You only need to take Red once to see what all the fuss is about. Call immediately to participate in our free nationwide trial. Call 800-506-2734. 800-506-2734. Be one of thousands to proudly say, I take Red. 800-506-2734.
And now back to After Further Review.
I'll look forward to. Got some college football playoff ranking talk, a couple betting lines Bradley wanted to bring up. We'll take the over or under, and then our top 6. We'll get to that at the close of the show. All right, Bradley. first release of the college football playoff rankings tomorrow, 7 p.m. Where do you think? You think Alabama's won? You think Clemson's won? I'm hearing that Notre Dame might get jumped by LSU for 3. UCF is predicted to be between 14 and 20. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to honestly agree with the AP poll for the first time probably in my entire life. I think the AP poll pretty much nailed it. The way that the college football playoffs is going to go, pretty much 1 through 7. And then you get to Ohio State and UCF and Washington State, 8, 9, and 10. I think you could see a little bit of shifting there. Really curious, like you brought up, where UCF is going to be. I think
they're not going to be high.
They won't be. They will not be top 10. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, which is going to be tough because they're going to have an uphill battle the rest of the way. When you get ranked 14 and 15, I know we saw. I think it was like Ohio State a couple years ago got ranked like in the 20s and then climbed all the way up. It's just hard when you're not playing teams to move up week in and week out. You got to have teams lose. That's the only way UCF's going to have to move up.
Last year, they showed up at number 18 to start out. They never got higher than 12. And some could make the argument that last year's UCF is better than this year's UCF. However, it's going to take a whole lot of moving around from big name teams to even give UCF a remote possibility.
And it really is too bad because people just say, oh, why don't you just schedule better? I think they're trying. I mean, you look back 4 years ago, the teams they scheduled on their schedule now, UNC was in the ACC championship game. Pitt was 8-4. I mean, Florida Atlantic was up and coming with Lane Kiffin.
Take Louisville's spot in the ACC. I would not complain. You laugh, but honestly, if UCF announced next year that they were taking Louisville's spot in the ACC, I'd be like, okay, cool,
and they talked about them going to the Big 12. I mean, that was a possibility.
If they go in a Power 5 conference, kind of like how Mizzou did it when they first got in the SEC. Like, let's not talk about Mizzou right now. Or Boise State. But, like, when Mizzou first got in the SEC and they were, a powerhouse, it really impressed a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, they honestly should follow the way that TCU did. Jumping from the Mountain West, getting into the Big 12, and starting to win games that way. It all does have to do with, all the number of sports that you have. It doesn't just have to do with football. So there's a little bit that goes behind that, but I'd love to see it. I really would.
SB Nation, Evan, put out an article, I believe, earlier today or this past weekend, talking about the fact that Clemson has a legitimate case for being number 1 in the first rankings for 2018.
That's funny.
Even though on a neutral field, Clemson would probably be considered an underdog, just looking at the fact that Clemson has, and I know that the specific metrics that they bring up are the strength of record, the CPI, which is kind of similar to what ESPN does with their FPI. Comparing schedules, I know that Clemson's strength of schedule is higher than Alabama's. So, I mean, you think that that's, is it crazy or is there some logic to it?
Well, no, it's not crazy. It's not
going to happen.
It's not going to happen. Clemson shouldn't be number 1. But here's a couple more reasons that it's not crazy. So Chris Felica, the bear on College Game Day, and my quite literal spirit animal, he had some interesting college football playoff facts that he was just tweeting out willy-nilly earlier. And another reason that Clemson could be number 1 over Alabama come tomorrow is that the college football ranking, according to Chris Felica, usually has a twist. Could have even Notre Dame number 1 because in the past, the college football playoff, at least the poll, has been heavily resume-based. It's not quite as much the eye test as the AP voters usually go with. It's resume-based. Out of the top 3 teams right now, Notre Dame's got the best win. Michigan week 1.
Yep.
And then last year, Georgia ended up being number 1, even though the AP poll that same week gave Alabama 59 first-place votes.
They got 60 this week.
Yeah, and Georgia was number 2 in the AP poll this time last year. College football playoff poll comes out, Georgia's number 1. And then in 2014, Mississippi State was number 1. In 2016, Texas A&M was all the way up at number 4 and was way lower than that in the AP poll. So something about tomorrow night is going to be significantly different than the AP poll is right now. And I think when we get into our top 6, we might kind of start digging at what that big difference is going to be. But I would be more shocked if tomorrow's night's poll looks exactly the same to the AP poll than if something was completely different.
The playoff, though, kind of prides itself on not following the, you could say, the rubric of the AP poll. And as much as we blast the AP poll for good reason, Bradley, I think Clemson has a legitimate shot at being number 1 in the inaugural rankings. I think right now I would still have Notre Dame over LSU, but I know that some are arguing that the Tigers may be over.
How about this? How about if Clemson is as low as 3? So let's say Bama's 1. They put Notre Dame above Clemson because Notre Dame has a better signature win, arguably, than Clemson. Number 3 in the initial ranking has never reached the college football playoff. And 3 of the 4 teams to be ranked 3rd lost either their first or their second game after receiving that ranking.
You know who's about to be that right there? LSU.
Yep.
But
they're playing Alabama. So
that's what I think.
That's going to change. That's going to work itself out.
I think LSU potentially could jump Clemson in the rankings. I'm serious. But the wins
you
they've had
you can
so
have a
far,
1-2 matchup in Baton Rouge this week.
It's going to have to happen after next week.
For the resume, the marketability of that 1-2 matchup, the fact that if LSU wins, they'll probably end up being number 1, so the committee could justify that.
LSU's loss to Florida.
8-point loss on the road?
No
I mean,
way.
they beat Georgia by 20.
No,
Clemson doesn't have anything near that.
You're not going to put. I mean, I understand
The college
marketability,
football
but
playoff committee, they don't care about this made-up transitive property. That means absolutely nothing. So, yes. So, if we look at the facts, yes, LSU lost to Florida. They beat Georgia. Georgia beat the snot out of Florida. But that doesn't nearly matter as much to the playoff committee.
Oh, no, I'm just talking about LSU.
You're not
I know.
You're not going to put Clemson at 3 and put an LSU team that lost to Florida above them.
They very easily could.
The committee showed you last year when they were willing to jump Auburn up with, I believe, a loss to number 2
2 losses.
With 2 losses up to like
and then
2.
towards the end of the year, you got 2 or 3 lost Auburn. That's still a top 10 team. They were number 8, number 9, I think, in the country.
Well,
with 2
LSU
losses.
and Alabama will definitely work itself out after next week. I don't know. I don't think that anyone's disputing who the top 4 teams are. The order of those teams, it seems, may be a little bit of a touchy subject, but we got to move on. Only got a few minutes left. Bradley, you got some betting lines. Run through those with us. We'll give our predictions.
All right, real quick, I want you all to go through. I'm going to list out the betting lines right now, as of right now, listed for this week. And I'm going to ask you to take either the over or the under.
Make it quick. We got upset picks and polls to get through here.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
UVA, 7-point favorites to Pittsburgh.
Over. Pittsburgh stinks sometimes.
Yeah, I'm taking the over.
I think they're going to stink this week.
Georgia, 10-point favorites over Kentucky.
I'll go under. That game's going to be close. Kentucky could win that
I'm
game.
taking the under. I think Kentucky's winning that one.
I'm taking the dogs.
Give me a 6-point game.
Georgia wins by 20. Alabama, 14.5-point favorites over LSU.
You can make this spread 30.
34.
I'd still take the over. I think Alabama's offense is so much better than LSU's offense has ever dreamed of being that this is not even going to be close.
2 words. Go Tigers.
4 words. Tua Tagovailoa and Joe Burrow.
I'm picking LSU.
Give me Tagovailoa.
I'm picking LSU. I
All
think
right.
they're going to get it done. It's my upset of the season.
This one's good. Clemson, 38-point favorites over Louisville.
Take the over.
How many snaps is Christian Wilkins playing at quarterback on Saturday?
Probably 38.
I expect Hunter
Still
Renfrow.
over.
And what did you say, Evan, if Louisville wins this week?
If Louisville wins this week, I will shave my head and jump in Lake Hartwell on January 17th.
I'm holding him to
That'll
it.
be a Christmas.
You can mark the tape right now.
That'll be a Christmas present to me.
Absolutely zero chance.
Last game, Texas, 2.5-point favorites over West Virginia.
Wow, that's
taking West Virginia easy.
Well, of course, you
That's
are.
Texas.
Yeah, give me the over on that one.
I'm taking the over. I think
They win by
Texas
at least a
gets it
field
done.
goal.
Really? After last week against Oklahoma State?
You figure they got to bounce back. They're mad now.
What gives
And they're
me
not going to
reason
let West
to think
Virginia.
that?
They're not going to let West Virginia walk into Austin and trample
3
them.
minutes left.
They're better than that.
3 minutes left. I don't know if we're going to have time for upset picks, so that may be.
Right now, let's do it. I got my upset pick. I'm swinging for the fences. Give me Northwestern over number 3 Notre Dame.
Wow.
I told you I was swinging for the fences. Bring it on, Wildcats. I'm putting my streak in jeopardy here. I'm not 100% confident in this, but it's only an 8-point spread right now. FPI gives Northwestern almost a 30% chance to win this game. It's in Chicago. Give me Pat Fitzgerald. Give me the Wildcats.
Let it be known that during the break, I asked Evan, come up with an upset pick. Just make sure it's not Northwestern and Notre Dame, because that's mine.
Honestly,
that's the one I picked.
there's a difference between being bold and stupid. Both of y'all are stupid. I got Blue Devils over Miami. Miami right now an 8-point favorite. I'm not sure why. Both these teams got good offensive production. I think that this game is
what
a
was your
winnable game
other
for
upset pick, though?
Well, I was about to say you also picked LSU over Bama, so
hey,
we'll see how that works out too.
That's my upset of the season. Real quick,
Give me a
though,
break.
2 minutes left. We're going to have to take the reins and get this one under control. Our top 6 for this week, I'm going to go ahead and rattle mine off. Number 1, I got Clemson based off the last 2 weeks. The performance, I understand that with Alabama playing LSU this coming weekend, a lot can change, resumes, everything. But right now, Clemson's 1. I got Alabama at 2. Notre Dame is at 3, Michigan at 4, LSU 5, and Georgia 6. Bradley, who's in your top 6?
LSU at 5. That's low. I got Bama 1. I got Clemson 2, Notre Dame 3. I think those are pretty set in stone. LSU, I got 4 based on the resume. I think they could even go higher than that. Then I got Michigan after that, and then those UCF Knights, sticking them at 6.
All right, time for me to be different and try to be as similar to what I expect the playoff poll to be as possible. 1, Bama. 2, Clemson. 3, LSU. 4, Michigan. 5, Notre Dame. 6, Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
I'm trying to be very different right now.
Oklahoma's the team no one wants to face right
Trying
now.
to keep it cheeky.
Well, no, their defense is abysmal. I don't know.
can play.
Yeah, they can, but if they go up against a decent defense like Clemson or even Michigan, and I'm not sure I'm buying the hype of Oklahoma because their defense right now is, I guess to quote Evan from last year, a wet paper bag.
Also, Bradley, I will formally apologize to you because whatever you told me over the break, I completely forgot. I got excited and saw that it was an 8-point spread, Notre Dame on the road, and I just wanted to jump at it. That's on me. You did tell me not to do that. That's your upset pick.
Do you seriously think that Northwestern could win that game,
Absolutely.
guys?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh,
yes.
my goodness.
Northwestern and Notre Dame's been winning games on the ground. Dexter Williams, along with Ian Book, have been great. Northwestern held Jonathan Taylor to 46 yards and no scores. Northwestern's won 3 straight games, 4 out of 5 right now. They beat Wisconsin, Michigan State, and nearly beat Michigan. Northwestern's a good team.
They are, but so is Notre Dame. I don't understand.
It's on the road late at night. You could potentially see Notre Dame trip up. If they're going to trip up at all, this is going to be it.
Well, you know what? We're out of time. We always run short. So much to talk about, but we really appreciate you taking the time, spend it with us. Another edition of AFR is in the books. For Evan, Bradley, and myself, we'll see you next time.